Everyone, this is Cobalt Line, and this is Hardspace Shipbreaker. I'm going to be showing some of my methods for harvesting a few of the parts of some of these larger ships, including the Class 2 Reactor. We're playing this in the semi-sandbox mode here, so I'm not going to worry about timers right now. But one of the things going to be shown right now is the big Class 2 reactors. So first thing we need to do is get to the back of the ship. I'm going to cut a few of these larger components apart here.
Salvage secured. Credits deposited.
These Class 2 reactors are larger, bulkier, and have more complicated components than the Class 1 reactors that you see in earlier ships. They are also worth a lot more. The estimated value on this ship is about $9 million or space bucks or whatever whatever I have a billion plus in debt to. As such, it's important to clear yourself a really good path on things. So we're going to take those outer antennas off and the high gain components. The other thing I'm going to do is work on getting everything depressurized as best as I can, because I'm going to be working in the outer hull. So you'll see here we have the ECU, I think it's the Environmental Control Unit. This is what is providing coolant to the Class 2 reactor through that pipe. So let's go ahead and depressurize this entire sector.
Air pressure level decreasing.
Alright, now we can see the outer hull and the Class 2 reactor here. So this is the other end of the coolant pipe coming out of here. If you split this open at this point, it's going to spray coolant everywhere. The other thing coming out of here is the fuel pipe, which, don't ask me exactly how that works, but this is the fuel pipe that is coming from the reactor out into the Class 2 thruster. So one of the first things I'm going to do here is I'm going to disengage the fuel pipe from the thruster, and you see all of those lights on the thruster pipe have gone out. So now that is safe to disengage. The other thing I'm going to do in here is start making some initial cuts so that I can start pulling components out. I should mention this is in the 0.4 update, so this is the latest current version of the game. Okay, so we've got some of those initial components off. I like to cut these in half because sometimes you can get parts to actually split off and I don't have to waste the aluminum.
Material deposited.
assuming they'll stop spinning all over the place. And I'm going to take that whole thing and chuck that into the processor.
Valuable object. Credits awarded.
The remaining plate, I'm assuming this is what the, in different ship configurations, although I haven't seen a Javelin with this would have like its engine nacelles on it.
Deposit accepted.
Alright, those two look like they don't want to come off, so that's fine. Got 50% of that. Another thing we'll do is going to come in the back here, and I'm going to pop this thruster cap off. And I'll just pull the, with the engine disengaged, I'm just going to pull this straight out the back. Once that switch has been thrown and the engine is disengaged from the rest of the reactor, it is no longer actually attached to anything, so it can just be easily pulled off the back without making further cuts. And now we have good, easy access to the back. The next step in this is going to be separating these rings all the way through till we get back as far as we can, to the a little bit past the reactor. That way, once it's been pulled off, it can be sent immediately to the barge.
Valuable object processed. Credits awarded.
Use a tether here. I'm just going to pull the back most ring off a little bit, get us some separation on that. And then same thing, chuck that into a processor. Usually with this ship, I just kind of do this similar process on the Javelins. I just work my way from the back to the front. A big part of the reason is that, frankly, if this reactor explodes, there's not a whole lot of the ship left, so no sense wasting a lot of time continuing to work on it if it's just a small bunch of furnace scrap. So might as well get the high value components out. Those fuel tanks on the back are a totally separate story in themselves. So with these fuel pipes now disengaged, I'm going to come back here and use the stinger to melt that L-shaped elbow. And lose an entire section of the hull's ring into the furnace. because that's what happens when when those things are so far back. So goodbye money.
Valuable component destroyed. Penalty applied.
How terrible. Oh well. Such is life. Alright, I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to carefully cut these supports that are holding the next ring in place. Let's see if I can get this ring to separate real nicely. And I'm kind of trying to not bang the reactor around too much. Haven't played a huge amount of this game, and it's been kind of a while since I played. I don't really know how resistant that reactor is when still in the housing to being struck by objects. So it's one of those things that I just don't want to really find out. Let's see if we can get this one to go in the right side here. There we go. Alright, so now the reactor itself is exposed. The next step I'm going to do is I'm going to start pulling off these outer plates. It's important to not do anything with this coolant pipe yet, because the moment the coolant flow shuts off, the reactor starts its meltdown sequence. These outer plates, though, can be removed.
Valuable object processed. Credits awarded.
I'm sure some of you are probably wondering why I haven't upgraded my tether supply, and that's because I was saving up tokens to get explosives to deal with a few other portions of this ship. Okay, this reactor plate goes down to the barge. Now the bottom plate is still connected to the coolant supply. So that's what we're going to go to next.
Salvage secured. Credits deposited.
So this plate with the 4 arrows on it pulls off. There are 3 coolant canisters inside. These will get pulled off and picked up. I have not actually figured out what the point of picking them up is. Okay, so now the reactor has begun its meltdown sequence. And you can see the blue on the pipes is gone, so we're going to cut.
Meltdown triggered. Action urgently required.
I'm going to pull it completely off the plate. Get electrocuted badly.
Excess electrical damage has been found to negatively impact long-term job satisfaction.
Send that into the barge.
Account credit.
And that is the Class 2 reactor. And there, I'll just melt out the other elbow. Send the plate in there. Send the pipe into there. And I'll harvest the ECU later. Alright everyone, that's the Class 2 reactor on the Javelin, and hope you enjoyed that. If you did, feel free to leave a like,
Salvage
and
deposit accepted.
I'll be back with other videos.